Outlast. I'm Amanda Schmidt, one of your hosts, and I'm joined today by a special guest host, my sibling Zoe Schmidt, replacing Jeff Schmidt for today's podcast. Hey, Zoe.
Hi, I'm happy to be here and happy to not permanently be replacing Dad.
Yeah, you do sound like a robot, but we can work on that.
Oh no.
No, it's okay.
I know I was
Um,
thinking about it before this. I was like, Dad is always so enthusiastic and I cannot mimic that.
no, no one can match that. I don't even think anyone should try. Um, so you watched this episode of the season on Wednesday. It was your first
Mhm.
episode of Survivor this season, certainly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. No, I realized it has been a few years since I watched any Survivor because I was like, wow, Jeff got old and he really did mellow out a lot. Um,
Yeah.
but I have been listening to this season of the podcast, so I like knew what was going on. You guys do a really good job summing everything up. So I was like, ah, yes, and I was like, oh, Jeff, Sophie's gonna be so upset that he's still calling her Soph and not Sophie, even though she's the only Sophie now. Um, and I'm like, I've never watched this season before. I don't know what other Sophie even looks like. But yeah, it's been fun.
Good. Yeah, you feel like we described them all more or less accurately?
Yeah, the one who's somehow nothing and everything like how I pictured is Rizzo, um, who I think there's just no way to describe the experience that is Rizzo that would be accurate. So I feel like he's one of those that you just have to watch. But everyone else, I was like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah,
Yeah, he is like difficult to explain. Um, Both like kind of a very regular guy and so odd.
hmm I like him
Yeah.
though. I like them all. It's a fun group of people.
Yeah, I think everyone who's left at this point is like interesting television at least.
hmm
Christina's a little boring sometimes, but
I
also
like that
like
though. I like like they were talking about like right like the plate of spaghetti that just gets thrown on, and I'm like somehow so mean, but also just so interesting, right? That she's like still here, and probably because people don't see her as a threat. But I think that is in its own way a strategy. I don't know if it's one that she's consciously choosing, but it's a strategy.
I think
And it's
it's
just it's
almost never a strategy that someone consciously chooses. Because I think so few people choose to be third place, you know? It's
yeah,
just sort of thrust upon some people.
right. On Christina, really quick though, one of my favorite moments of the whole episode is when Sage is doing the like I think it's Karma, and Christina's just like I don't think it's Karma, just like that smile, just like or Christina's just like I don't think so, and just like the way she said it is one of my like I think my favorite moment of the whole episode.
I think Christina is right that it wasn't karma. I think it was simply a consequence of Sage's action, which is different from karma because I think karma would be a moral consequence, and it wasn't a moral consequence. It was just like she made a bad decision, and now
hmm
that is biting her in the ass. Like I don't know why that has to be karma. And Christina was correct that it is not. But yeah, tribal this time was crazy. I'm curious about your thoughts. I think so. We came in knowing that Steven had this block of vote. He had played it on Savannah. Sophie, we thought maybe was going to play her knowledge as power to steal Rizzo's idol, but we knew that she was actually going to use it to steal Steven's advantage, which was disappointing. But because Steven had played it before he got to tribal council, it didn't matter. Sophie didn't get to steal anything.
Yeah, so
Steven
they basically
seemed,
like flushed that advantage out, right? Like they were able to flush out Sophie's advantage, right?
yeah, without even knowing that it existed, Steven managed to flush it and nullify it, and it seemed like he had really won the day, and then it turned out that Sage and Christina had flipped on him, so none of that mattered, and he went home.
Yeah, it's interesting. I know because I mean at first, right, like going into the episode, I was like, okay, yeah, like it's gonna be Steven. And then there was a moment where I thought that Sophie really might turn on Savannah. which would have been super interesting. But then it didn't matter because Savannah got immunity. So I was like, okay, but like, so, but then it was like, so who is it gonna be? And then it just did end up being Steven, but um, in a sort of roundabout sort of in a way.
Yeah, like it was sort of the solution we expected, but just in like the most convoluted way possible.
Like I feel like the result was sort of the anticipated result, but just the way it worked out was, and it happened so like it felt so fast to me where I was like, wait, what? Like I had to like go back and rewatch it, and I still don't think I understood because I'm just not that keyed into Survivor. But I feel like it was a lot of things happening and a lot of stuff that had happened that we hadn't seen because that makes more interesting TV, and we'll probably see next episode, right? Some of the will we?
So that's sort of one of the frustrating.
That's not how Survivor works.
It's not how Survivor works. It, like, sometimes is, but I think it's just a frustrating byproduct of the way the episodes are set up, where they don't give us the rationale for the decisions too explicitly because they want us to be surprised by the decisions. But then by the next episode, it's like we're moving on to new stuff. So then we don't really get to see the rationale still. So I think maybe I'll be wondering a little bit forever, like what pushed Sage over the edge to make the decision she made to flip on Steven, which seemed crazy. Although, upon reflection, I am starting to think that it was a rational decision and I know why she did it.
I mean, it is just a big move, also, and also I don't know what. So what are you thinking about why she did it?
I mean, I think you're right that like it's a big move and she seems like she's making a decision. And this is the thing that I don't really like about my suspected reason why she might have done this is because sometimes I think in Survivor players think that the fact that they're making a decision always means that they're like making the right decision or they're like in the power seat, so they make decisions that actually aren't really beneficial to their game just for the sake of being the one making the decision. Like this happened on a season called Millennials versus Gen X, where this Hannah kept making decisions and she was always the swing vote and she was always making decisions, but she kept making decisions that drove everybody else crazy because she was kind of keeping around these like huge threats who could really beat her in the end, kind of just for the sake of being the one in the driver's seat making the decision. And so a little bit I think that's what Sage was doing here. Like she saw that she had an opportunity to like take agency and like take agency away from Steven, who was making a really big move that looked really good for the jury. The jury loves it when someone uses an advantage correctly. So
Yeah.
on the one hand, I think she was just making a decision to make a decision, which is not great. But on the other hand, I think she saw this final six and was like, I can beat Christina at the end. I can beat Sophie at the end. I can't beat Rizzo, Savannah, or Steven. And she thought Rizzo was off the table because he had an idol. Savannah's off the table because she has immunity. So the only person left in this final six who's on the table is Steven, who she thinks she can't beat at the end. So I think that's why she made the decision she did. I just think...
No, that makes sense.
I don't know if it was the right decision, because now suddenly it's like Rizzo and Savannah and Sophie are kind of in the majority, and does Sage really think she's even going to make it to the end with those three in the majority? I don't know.
That's a good point. Interesting.
Yeah.
Rizzo's freaking idol. I was like, it's another week of this freaking idol, and is just gonna go down in Survivor infamy as.
Yeah. What did you think of the way that he played that in this episode?
He's just doing he's just at this point it's all just for shits and giggles. Like it's just become a weird sort of meme to him, and he's like it's too much. He's in the bit too deep to stop.
Yeah, it does feel like he's in the bit so deeply that he doesn't realize he's just rubbing it into the face of like Sophie, one of his closest allies. Because what he thought was happening in that moment was that he was betraying Sophie, but he did it in such a showboaty building suspense way. Like, why would you do that to her?
Right? And that's the thing, because she didn't, and she wasn't going home, but like she could have been.
Yeah. As far as he knew and she knew.
Now he has to face her this next week, and I feel like that's the thing. I feel like he will go pretty far. But I don't, with the way he's been so whatever with the idol, there's no way the jury's gonna be in his favor at the end.
I mean, what I think about Endgame for Rizzo is that I just think that he's gonna go out at 4 because I think he's not a closer, and they're gonna either put him in
Mm.
fire and he's gonna lose at fire, or he's just not gonna win. Like, I don't think he's gonna win the immunity. Like, I think the two ways he could make it to Final Three are by winning the Final Four immunity or by winning in fire. And I don't think he's going to do either of those things because I think he's like lost at, like almost every time he's been in like a closer position this season. Like he's never won an individual immunity. There have been at least a couple challenges where he's been like the final role, like on a team challenge, and they've lost. Maybe he has also won in the closer position like a couple times, but he's definitely lost. So I just don't think he's going to make it there. So it'll be kind of always a mystery, I think, whether the jury would have been so annoyed by his showboating that they would have not voted for him. I do think, like, I think this is a pretty rational jury for the most part, and I think that he has played the best strategic game, so I like to think that if he's in the final 3, they'll see that, and then if it's him and Savannah, it's sort of a crapshoot because I think they both have really good cases that are pretty different. But I don't know. I think like he's
Yeah.
been really annoying, but like he's been the best strategist, even though he did this stupid showboating thing, which I think was a big mistake. And he also like put everything into guessing that Steven had a steal a vote, which he didn't. So like I think Rizzo has been doing a lot of
Right.
guessing and finally guessed wrong, and he looked baffled at that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, the expressions at the end were so good.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you like him after this? Do you hate him?
No, weirdly I do. That's the thing because he is like he is very charismatic. Like he I don't like on paper he's so obnoxious, but he does have this strange charisma.
Yeah. No, I can't explain it. And I don't like him as much after he did that to Sophie because I actually think it was like really uncalled for and like I think
Yeah.
you're right that he's just too committed to the bit now and he's lost sight of like why he's doing it. But
He's gonna have to face the consequences this next week now that she is not gone and she is not gonna let him, just walk away without consequences for that.
yeah, because Savannah did a lot of legwork this episode to like keep Sophie like really loyal to the two of them. Like Savannah won this big loved ones letter reward and she took Sophie and Sophie was so happy she took her and she was so grateful that she like seemed to just give up like all of her ideas of turning on them and like Sophie should have turned on
That
them.
was the thing, right? Like, because I was like, okay, yeah, she's getting ready to make this big move, and then she did just sort of chicken out, like because things were nice, which like, okay, I mean, but it didn't matter in the end anyway, because
But it did matter, I think, because I think that Sophie ended up looking like kind of dumb in front of the jury by playing this knowledge is power wrong, especially when she pulled it
yeah,
out. The whole jury knew that Rizzo has had this idol that he's been sitting on this whole time. Like they're all thinking what I as a viewer at home am thinking, which is like it will be so juicy if she steals this out from under him and she didn't do it. And everybody on that jury knows that she could have done it, and she would have been in a much better position if she had. So I just think that
yeah,
she made herself look like she didn't, like it wasn't inconsequential, because I think she made herself look
yeah, no, I agree.
foolish. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, and now after all that legwork Savannah did, Rizzo, I think, has kind of set them back by like Sophie basically begging him to play the idol. Begging is strong, but she did say, if I were you, I would play the idol on me, which I think is about as close to begging as you can get in that circumstance, because you can't
Yeah,
be like, please play the idol
right.
on me. And
Yeah,
he stood up like he was going to, and then was like, I'm actually not playing it today, like for the 10th time this season. Like, we get it, man.
right.
Yeah. The other thing that you couldn't know probably that frustrated me this episode is that for the last like several seasons, the idol has always lasted until final five. So the fact that Rizzo got away with lying to all of
Oh,
them about his idol expiring at six is kind of crazy to me. And what I'm most curious about
yeah.
is that Steven was really close with MC, who had an idol earlier in this season. She got the idol the same way that Rizzo got his idol. I feel like Steven should have known from MC that her idol expired at five. So why is Steven believing that Rizzo's idol expires at six when it's the same idol? Like, did MC not tell Steven that? Did he just forget? Did he get nervous? I don't get it. Um,
Yeah, that was weird. Like, it did seem to me, just as, again, someone who has not watched much Survivor and not any of the season, that it was like a pretty obvious lie that everyone was just rolling with.
yeah,
Like, he was so proud of it, and I'm like,
no, and like, it worked for him. It was a bold strategy. Like, I'm not gonna like take points away from him because everybody else like totally missed the lie, but it does feel like,
right,
and it is such an obvious thing
yeah,
to conclude that Rizzo would do knowing him. Like, we know that he's doing everything in his power to not
yeah,
play this idol until the last possible second. So
right,
logically, he would lie at
yeah,
least once about when the idol expires so that he can then save it for one more vote. And like, if you know that that's something he's likely to do, and you know that idols usually expire at five, like, it's risky, but I think you can guess that he's going to try to not play it tonight and keep it for another night, and you put your votes on him.
yeah.
It's like,
But, like, I mean, it worked for him. It paid off
yeah, it did.
for now.
No, and I mean, next vote, he like has to play it. I don't know if he'll play it on himself. I don't know if he'll play it on, like, he'll try to do something more interesting with it, but I think at least it'll get played. I have to
Maybe a
assume.
makeup play for Sophie. Like, hey, yeah. I really liked the immunity challenge that they did. I thought it was fun. It was weirdly fun and like so tense to watch, considering it's just two people standing there for half an hour.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it was just like an endurance leg workout.
yeah, and like the fact that it's like, okay, last time the person who won it won the whole season. Like we've done it once. Like it just added an interesting, fun, like high stakes layer to it. Um, and the Savannah Sage showdown was very fun.
Yeah. And the last season when they did this, it was also a showdown between Dee, the winner, and the guy who was in love with her on that season. And she
Oh
beat
no.
him. And then beat him in the finale as
Good.
well. And she was amazing. And
Nice.
the way that Savannah is in challenges reminds me of Dee. Like, they both do a little shit talking, but also clearly really want their competitor to push them to their furthest. And they're like pulling from just this like well of strength that seems like infinite to me. Like, I don't know about you, but like watching Savannah
Yeah,
up there for me is like, I think she will be there until the end of time.
absolutely. No, it was fascinating to watch because she was so zen, and I think Sage too was did a great right. Like they were both there for a long time. Like that takes. They were both very, I think, very strong people and strong competitors. Because that's the thing. It's like yes, it's physical, but I think a lot of it is that sort of mental willpower too. Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
but yeah, no. So the whole time, right? She did not crack. Like it was really interesting.
Yeah. What did you think of Sage's bargaining?
I mean, it was sort of a last ditch effort, but it doesn't hurt. And I don't know. On the one hand, like I guess you could, it can be perceived as making her seem weak, but on the other hand, it's I don't know. It's us trying something, just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing if anything sticks. Doesn't hurt to try, I guess.
Yeah, I think like maybe in the moment I was like, she's being kind of weak here and like a little whiny, but I think in reality that was just someone who was putting absolutely everything that she had into it. Like, I think physically she knew
Yeah.
that like this was the end for her, and so why not try to like
Mm.
convince
Yeah.
Savannah to step down when she clearly wasn't going to.
I mean, because it did. You could tell it sort of started to. It wasn't what she expected, Savannah. I mean, like it didn't shake her necessarily, but it I think did throw her off. It seemed like it threw her off a little bit. Just
Yeah, it did.
so I think it was. Yeah. No, I think it was. Right.
Yeah. Um No, and it was very stark contrast with Savannah kind of like encouraging Sage to keep trying and Sage like begging Savannah to step down. But I think probably that speaks a little bit to the types of people and competitors they are, because Sage has been a bit of a
Hmm.
sore loser in the past on this season, so I think that is a little bit in line with that. But I also think it just speaks to like where they were in that
Hmm.
challenge. Like Savannah had a lot more left in her and she like kind of wanted to
Yeah.
keep pushing, and Sage
Mhm.
was like done. Like that was all she had. Um
Right, and Savannah had a lot more like leverage at that point in general. Like in the game, I think she already had the upper hand
yeah.
by that point.
No, and like Sage was desperate specifically because I think she knew that like she had to get Savannah out. Which is, I mean, thank God that Sage finally knows
Yeah,
that she has to get Savannah out because she seems to keep forgetting
yeah,
it when she can actually do it. But it did seem like the desperation of a person who's like doing the math and thinking through this, okay, I can't get Rizzo out because he has an idol, which she should have realized he didn't have to play. Um, and then like my only other options are going to be Sophie and Christina, who I think I can beat, and Steven, who I've been working very closely with and don't want to betray. And that betrayal did not seem to go over well with the jury, so Sage might, if she does make it to the end, have to kind of talk her way around that one. And it frustrated me as a viewer because I really wanted to see someone play an advantage successfully, and when I realized it wasn't going to be Sophie, I was like, at least we get to see Steven have this cool moment and finally take a shot at this trio that has been so inexplicably dominant. And then I didn't even get to see that. Like, it felt like I was just getting all these little satisfying
yeah,
moments ripped away from me. But I don't think that that frustration necessarily comes from Sage making. I think Sage made a risky decision, but I think it was like a logicked decision.
yeah. No, I think, and I think it did. There was a weird sort of power to it. Like even if it was just sort of internally for Sage, I think it sort of gave her a certain kind of fuel that she needed. That's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Like I don't, I can see, especially as you know, as someone who's been watching the whole season, how it would be a frustrating one. But I like I get it. I think it was effective.
Yeah, I think you're right that it had like a power to it. Because in a way, she was the only person who, I mean, Christina as well with Sage, and maybe I'm not giving Christina enough credit by saying this was entirely Sage's move, but yeah, it just,
That's the thing, right? Like,
um, but yeah, it like Sage was the only person who knew what was happening at that tribal council, and she didn't know about the knowledge is power, but
yeah,
that ended up being sort of irrelevant, which is so frustrating as someone who was really excited to see it get played. But
yeah,
like Rizzo
right.
clearly blindsided by Steven going home despite wanting Steven to go home. Same for Savannah, same for Sophie, same for Steven. So like
Yeah,
Sage is kind of the only person who like seemed in control this vote. And yeah, there was a certain kind of power to it,
yeah,
even though I think
exactly.
TBD whether people see that as her just being stupid and like letting the trio get through again, or if people will see what I think it really was, which was like a carefully considered risk. Because if she makes it to the final three, like I think that
I
was the
think so.
right
Yeah,
call. Because if Steven had survived this, he looks so good. He just played this like advantage that he worked so hard
mhm.
to win. He played it successfully. He weakened his biggest enemy. Like if the final three is Steven, Christina, and Sage after that, like Steven wins, I think.
He thinks it for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
I was just gonna ask you if you think Sage is gonna make it to the end.
I don't know. She's interesting. I think that I don't know. I think she could. It is interesting, right? Like you and Dad have been talking a lot about like the who's getting like the villain edit, and it's just interesting because Sage is in this weird sort of. I think you and Dad, like Dad was sort of describing this weird sort of like anti-hero position. It was interesting, and I like, yeah, right. Like they do sort of keep going back to the movie thing. Like was it Rizzo who said at the beginning, like, yes, this is cinema again. They just keep going back to the movie thing.
Yeah, Rizzo loves to call things cinema.
Yeah.
Um, no, I truly think that the villain of this season is not Savannah or Sage, but simply the editors That's my hot take this episode. I think
Yes.
the editors set me up to think that someone was gonna play an advantage successfully. Like, we spent this whole episode almost entirely thinking about Sophie's advantage and Steven's advantage. And we spend 5 minutes with, like, barely brought up the consideration that Sage might flip. Like, just a blip and then it's gone.
Yeah.
And like all we're thinking about is
Yeah.
Sophie and Steven and how they're going to play their advantages. And the tribal council bits that are left in are like which side has the better ammunition. But the ammunition didn't matter at all. All that mattered
Mhm.
was Sage's decision, and we like barely saw the fact that she was making a decision. Like we see her on the beach and we think she's just being like dramatic.
No, right, but no, like her face though. The when he looks, what wasn't it? He looked at her and she sort of just did the like, nope. Like the she knew, right? Like the whole tribal council, like she was in control. She knew, like she made that choice. Um, so no, I think it. I kind of hope it does. I don't know. I kind of hope it does pay off for her because it was, and I think that the alliance, like the unbreakable, like Tres Leches alliance, isn't going to be as strong now that Rizzo did that showboating and totally screwed over Sophie.
Yeah, like I think that was should have been a really big wake up call for Sophie. Like she should have trusted her gut and her abuelita. But if nothing else, now that Rizzo has not played his idol for her so publicly, like she should be aware that she
Mm,
should have flipped, and
yeah,
there is still probably going to be an opportunity for her to flip on them. And they probably do trust her a lot now that she
yeah,
like missed that big opportunity. So I do think there's like the chance here for her to really flip on them. And I think she should. And if she doesn't,
yeah.
I think that this
Hmm.
episode made me realize that like even Rizzo and Savannah are maybe not quite as unbreakable as I thought they were. Like they have been such a unified force, but I feel like they haven't really like made a wrong guess since the merge when Nate went home. And I feel like maybe now that they have, they're going to be scrambling a little bit, even though they're in a power seat. I don't know. No, and I mean, like, with Steven gone, it is a slightly more open slate for who could win immunities if it's not Savannah. It just feels like I think to win the game, she needs to just win the next two immunities because I think anyone would be crazy to take her to the end at this point. But to win the next two immunities, she would be breaking the record for every woman who's played Survivor, and she would be tying the record for the men who have won the most immunities on Survivor. Yeah. Um, so maybe she can do it. I hope she does. It would be really fun to watch, but I'm a little skeptical.
The one thing
Yeah.
I was going to say that I forgot that I wanted to mention that was in my notes was when they were like, "Oh my God, it was this giant rat. We were being swarmed by these giant rats, and they were these tiny, cute little mice."
Yeah, they were just like little
Little guys,
guys. They were
literally.
probably
I
just
wrote down.
cold.
I
It
was
was
like,
rainy.
"Meanwhile, it's just a little tiny guy."
Just a little guy. Although you know what? It is pitch
Yeah,
black out there. If anything touched me, I would be alarmed, and I would definitely say it was bigger than it
right.
was.
No, like there are times where I jump when like I don't realize the cat is under the blanket and it touches my leg. Like, yes.
Yeah, and you're expecting him to be there. Yeah. No, it must be like scary out there, but I do wonder if like when they watch it back with the night vision cameras, if you're like, oh, that was just a little guy, huh?
I mean, especially this season, right? Like after that one guy got bit by a snake, like I'm sure they're a
That's
little extra on
true.
edge.
No, that's actually a really good point. Like after that, I feel like I would have lost any level of comfort that I had with wildlife. What, any like final parting thoughts?
No, it's fun to watch this episode. I'll probably watch the finale too.
It has been fun to get a fresh take. This episode was a lot to dive in on, so thank you for chatting about it with me.
Thank you.
All right. And thank you to our however many viewers and listeners. We appreciate you joining us, and we hope you'll join again next week for the finale. All right, bye.
Bye.